Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show and welcome Aubrey. Hey
Hello.
Aubrey.
How's it
Hello,
going?
hello. Good. Here we are. Here we are recording. It's
Here we
been a
are.
challenge with our schedules lately. So,
I know. I
but
know.
we figured it
So
out.
many things. Life just is happening.
Yes. Yeah, life is happening. So, and that's kind of I guess what we're going to talk about today, questioning stuff to
hmm
make sure that we're interacting with life in a healthy way. It's funny when I was a kid, my thinking was so off that like my father used to notice it, like he could see it. I think the way that I think and the way that my father thinks are very closely related. I think that's where I get a lot of it. His mind works very similar to mine in a lot of ways. So like I remember him saying like your thinking is just off. It's just off. It's heading in the wrong direction. It's not, and I didn't know what the heck he meant by then, especially, that was probably when I was a teenager and I wasn't really interested in his perspective and I was trying to figure out my own way. And the fact that it didn't make sense to him was actually feeding it because I didn't want to be like him at that stage. I was trying to
Yeah.
break away from all that stuff. But he used to see it, and a lot of times when I'm working with clients, I try to explain it to them because I'll be like, you know what, your thinking is dead on. Like you're you're good. I think I've said that to you before. It's like,
hmm
your thinking is dead on, and I try to explain it because that doesn't seem like it's that important, but it is. It's the way I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, the thinking or the acting or the like. But if you're clear and your thinking is going in the right direction, then that is either the driving force or the symptom of you being in alignment. You can't be in alignment and have your thinking, breaking off into a different direction. It just doesn't work
Yeah.
that way. So
Yeah.
when you're in alignment, your thinking is in alignment, your energy is in alignment, everything is in alignment. That's what being in alignment means. you know so like I can monitor the thinking, and somebody can say, three sentences, and two of them will be on and one of them might be off, and it's like, okay, so I just grab that third one and just adjust it a little. Okay, we got to tweak this a little. You're starting to veer a little bit there, so you just got to tweak that, shift your perspective just a little, and then that gets back in alignment with the other two sentences. Now your whole thought
Yeah.
process is in alignment.
Yeah.
So monitoring our thinking is important, and sometimes we can monitor our own. Sometimes it's important to get an outside perspective, because if our thinking is off, how are we supposed to recognize that?
Yeah.
You
If it's
know?
in our own heads and we're not getting it out.
Yeah,
hmm
it's the Einstein quote. You know, a problem can't be solved with the consciousness that created it.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't make
if
sense.
you walked yourself into a problem because of the way you were thinking, then you didn't do that on purpose. You weren't trying to walk yourself into a problem. So you
Right.
thought you were doing the right thing. So therefore your
Right.
consciousness is off around that particular subject. So to find your way out of it is hard. It's not that it can't be done. Sometimes we can do it. It's just a lot easier getting another perspective.
Yeah.
because that's why we're here. We're here to help one another and to give each other different perspectives from the outside. So, that is very helpful, and that's one way to do it. I think today we're going to be talking a little bit more about how we can try to do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because you don't know what you don't know, right?
right, you don't know what you don't know. So therefore, like basically what you need to do is pay attention to your alignment and your energy first, and then think, and then try to figure out the thinking. Because if you're out of alignment and you're off, if you're caught up in fear, or frustration or anger, and those emotions are flooding you, and they are going to shape. I don't give a crap what anybody says. They are going to shape the way you think. They are going to shape the way you make decisions. It's going to happen, and it's going to make your decisions worse every time. you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's your reality, and then you find yourself in a weird spot. Right.
Yeah, yeah. You're just like it's the foundation of your thinking. Your thinking comes from somewhere. I mean energetically, the direction of your thinking comes from somewhere. So if you're centered and clear, then it's very clear thinking. If you're emotional, it's going to push you into a different direction with your thinking. This is why, like, another example of it is as soon as I got sober, I heard you can't parent from guilt. And it's true, because what happens is, and I was a drunk for 20 years, and my son was, 3.5 or something by the time I had gotten sober and started being with him again. So there was like a 2-year period where I just visited him. So I had a lot of guilt about not being there, for those 2 years, and then just living as a drunk for 20 years. I mean, you got trailer loads filled with guilt, like, so that you have to let go of. And of course, you let go of a lot of it through the program and stuff. But when it comes to parenting, there's so much love there. There's a lot of guilt. It's very easy to tap into that guilt. And the reason you can't parent from guilt is because it will drive your decision making. It's very easy to see. It's like, it's just, and it's the little things at first. And kids manipulate. That's what they do, because they're trying to figure out this world and how to get what they want in this world, and their ego identity is expanding, and they're connecting to it. So they're navigating things. So they're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So they're constantly manipulating scenarios to get what they want. Which is not good if you're driven by guilt, because they're going to play you like a fiddle.
You're going to give in. Yep. Give in to whatever, because you're trying to overcompensate.
Right. So you're going to give in more than you should, and it's going to affect them, and they're going to walk all over you. And it's going to play out like that. Guaranteed. Wow. So it's a good example of how, it's how you can't, that underlying energy has to be cleared away, and then you can be clear and make clear decisions. Everything's like that.
So what do you think is the first step in recognizing that your thinking is not right?
I mean, really, I think it's just disconnecting from the thinking first. Like, because really that's what we do. We run around thinking, all day, every day, about stuff, and try to figure out intellectually how we're supposed to do things. And that's the first mistake. So we just have to stop thinking first.
Slow down.
Slow down, just stop thinking, and then center yourself. Just, get calm, disconnect from, my son's been sick, and I'm over here in Florida taking care of him. Now, I've seen what the healthcare system does. I don't particularly like the healthcare system. anyway. I think it's a load of crap. I think it's money driven. I don't think that the people that are making decisions give a flying crap about about human beings. I think it's all about profit, and you know, it's they'll pass any medication. You can literally die and have strokes over medications, but they're safe to take. So you know,
Right.
what has to happen for them not to be safe to take? I'm curious. So so that, you know, all this stuff, and you know, and lawsuits, and there's 6 million reasons why I don't trust the healthcare system or the people in it as far as I can throw them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, you know, and I've got all kinds of reasoning to back it up, and logical reasoning and facts. So if I anchor into that, and that is what controls my decision making is going to be slanted in a different direction, because I can, if I focus on that, I can get frustrated, I can get irritated, I can get angry that it's like that, and that my son is being affected by that in a negative way. Like, you know, so it's real easy for me, especially when it's interacting with my child, for me to be able to get angry about that. And I have to disconnect from that and center myself and go, yes, that's just, in my opinion, that's the facts. It's messed up. You can't fully trust it. Okay. So what can they do? Is there anything that is there any information that I can weed through this load of crap and find something good? Like, because I mean, nothing is all bad, you know? So what can I find that's good? You know, I'm not going to sit there and say, well, every test that he had is complete BS because they're BS and they screwed up on, you know, 15 different things that they screwed up on. That means the other 6 things are tainted as well. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
As much, if I'm driven by emotion, I completely do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's all, yeah, exactly. And you're trying to look at it from a non-emotional, more realistic view.
Right. So I have to disconnect from the anger, the frustration, my belief systems, and go and center myself first and go, okay, let's get the emotion out of the way and let's look at this clearly. Like, you know, so you know, this piece came back positive. What's the likelihood that that's positive? And then go research and find information elsewhere in a more trustworthy situation, like people who have actually
Right.
um, dealt with this for years,
Right.
and understand it, and you know, all that. So go get my information elsewhere. And now all of a sudden, after talking to 2 or 3 what I would consider more professionals, because they actually lived it and navigated all the nightmare of the medical system, and then came out the other side healthy, you know, and found the actual right way of doing it. Like, those people are, I think, are they hold better information. Now their information is tainted too, because there's fear. So I have to be careful what I grab onto. So this is, you have to be very logical. You have to be like, okay, you know, I'm letting go of this stuff that I don't like, and I have to look at it clear and realistically. But then I'll go over here for help, but I have to understand that they're conditioned by fear a lot of times too. So maybe I'll agree with 75% of what they say, but there's still 25% that is probably driven by fear that's pushing too far. So I have to be careful of that as well. So, you know, and this kind of sounds complicated, but everything in spirituality does until you actually try it. It's much simpler than it sounds, because it's just, you know, you can lock into stuff, and just, if you're paying attention to the way you're thinking and the way you're feeling while you're thinking it, you can tell if you're being driven by emotion or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just being realistic with yourself. Now, how do you, especially in such a, I don't want to say triggering, but like this is a very high emotionally connected, situation for you. And just how do you check in with yourself and stay grounded and like keep yourself in that right thinking pattern versus what we all, the alternative?
Well, I'll tell you, it's I've come a long way.
Yeah.
Which is really nice to say.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Raising my son, with the family court stuff that was always going on, and nothing about raising my son was smooth, from an external level. I mean, our relationship was wonderful, and we had tons of wonderful times together, and it was the most amazing experience of my life. However, when you're talking about a logistical thing like medical aspects, school aspects, family court aspects, all those types of things was very difficult. So I had to grow a lot in those areas through those times. But then now, he's an adult now, so it's like I've had time to rest and purge out the residual emotion that was left over from all those 18 years of what I went through. And so I'm much more grounded now, so it's much easier for me to stay in, and sometimes we'll bitch about the healthcare system, and because I want to get it out, there is frustration there. So it helps me purge it and get it out. But then it's like, okay, am I using that? Am I disconnected from that frustration? And it's just really as simple as like nowadays, I can just be thinking about something and just like usually I can feel when I'm getting emotional. So if the emotion I start feeling emotion, or I start generalizing, that's ego.
Yeah.
Oh, they all suck. No, nothing of everything sucks. Like so like if I catch myself generalizing and just making sweeping statements or feeling emotional, those are all signs like, hey, Glenn, if you want to use this moment to purge out some of your frustration, fine, but don't take yourself too seriously right now because you're caught up in a bunch of BS. This isn't actually this isn't concrete information that you're spitting out now. You're just venting.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, and I allow myself to do that whenever the hell I want to.
Yeah.
So, so people around here have heard me bitch about the healthcare system several times in the last week, and I'll do it more. But I don't make my decisions from that.
Yeah, it's I have that type of similar thing with the healthcare system. I was really looking into functional medicine for a long time. There's these things called FDNPs. They're functional diagnostic nutritionist practitioners, and what functional medicine does versus Western, like I was very scorned from Western because I just feel like, especially with reoccurring issues, those reoccurring symptoms that people have, it's very difficult to get to the root cause of the issue, or you hear a lot, where people, it's just tough to cross, and they want to do prescriptions and whatever. But it really is perspective, because I had a lot of resentment against it too. And I'm like, you know what? It's good for a broken arm. It's good for a broken arm. Or, like those emergencies. But you're right though. It's not all bad. And it's easy to get caught up in that too. That turns into victim mentality kind of quickly.
Right. And I think that that's actually a good tool, that you just pointed out, like really mentally find what's good in it, because you can't just completely complain about it all the time and then expect your unconscious to think that there's something good with it.
Right.
Your unconscious is deeper, and it will override your surfacey thinking. So like so actually finding, and I do this, I find situations where I go, okay, the healthcare industry was good in this. And, of course there are many people that it's helped. Of course there is,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I just read a story on Facebook, like a little post, like a week ago or something, that somebody was very sick in the Dominican Republic and they didn't get the help they needed. They flew over to the either US or Canada. They got the help that they were needed, and they got and it was wonderful. And they got healthy, and they're using it as an example of the DR having bad health care and the US having good health care. And I'm like, that's so far in my experience, it's been the opposite. I've
Yeah.
liked the DR healthcare system better than the United States healthcare system in my experience. But the point is that somebody had a good experience, and that was a week ago. And the reason that it's coming up now is because when I read that, my first instinct was, and I went, Glenn,
You wanted to brush it off immediately.
well,
Yeah.
I wanted to, yeah, but I was
Yeah.
like, Glenn, this is a really good opportunity for you to see the good in the healthcare system. That sometimes it does help people, sometimes it does do good, and to say it never does is ridiculous, and it's not true. So don't allow yourself to go down that direction. Are there many problems? Yes. Do I hate it? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could give a laundry list of what I don't like about it. However, can it help people in situations? Yes, of course it can. And it's helped many people, millions, probably hundreds of millions over the years. So
Yeah.
it does have some good in it. It's got problems too. And my job is to navigate those. My job is to use my common sense, use body awareness if it's to do with me, try to help people I'm talking to learn about their body. Like if you tune into your body, you can you'd be surprised how many answers come up. And I
Yeah.
get used to that in personal training. Like people, I'd be like, does it, so if I'm rehabbing an injury or something, I'm like, okay, does this, how does this feel? Well, it hurts. Okay, well, what do you mean by hurt? Does it feel like it's injuring it more, or does it feel like it's kind of stretching it? And it'd be like, I don't know. Be like, okay, so you actually do know. You just don't know that you know. So just think about that. Think about, go light, go slow, and pay attention to your feeling and ask yourself, is this injuring me, or is this just stretching it? And it'd be like, and now I usually kind of knew the answer already, but because my intuition knew if they're freaking hurting themselves,
Yeah. You would have probably stopped
I
it.
wanted,
Yeah.
I wanted to teach them how to know their own body, because it's a
Yeah.
valuable asset. So they'd be like, no, I think it's just like stretching it. I don't think it's a damaging feeling. I'm like, okay, good. Pay attention to that. Get to be able to tell the difference between those two things. It's helpful,
Yeah.
And I mean, you could teach somebody that. They wouldn't be good at it. They would have to practice it, but you could teach somebody that in 30 seconds.
Yeah. To just settle in and actually pay attention.
Yeah. So this is like when I'm talking to my son about how he's feeling, I'm also monitoring his energy. Is he talking to me through frustration? Is he frustrated right now? Oh yeah, he's all
Yeah.
wound up. Okay, well, I'm not going to take what he's saying. I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. I'll be like, there's probably some truth here. He's probably exaggerating some of it because he's upset.
Mm-hmm.
So I do it with other people too. I can,
Yeah.
you can, I can feel when the thinking is off.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's we can learn to do this for ourselves, but it's just paying attention to the red flags. What's driving my thinking? What emotional state am I in right now? And what can I use to help me? Like if you put your attention on 10 bits of information and 9 of it is useless, and your intention is like, is any of this helpful?
Yeah.
and you just read each one. That one piece that's helpful is going to capture your attention. There's going to be a little bit of a different feeling when you're reading that one.
Yeah.
You know, and if you learn to
and then
monitor
just
that,
lean
it's
into
really
that.
helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I do. It's just massively bringing consciousness, being aware, bringing conscious thinking, bringing mindfulness into whatever you're doing. You know, take 100% of your focus and just put it on that and pay it. You know, some people like almost hear a voice. Some people feel a physical sensation. Some people feel an emotional sensation. You know, there's all kinds of different ways of discerning information and tapping into your inner voice. You know, mine is by feel, like an emotional feel usually, sometimes a little bit physical, but mostly it's an emotional feel. So if I'm reading something that's truthful or helpful, I feel completely contented. Then all of a sudden a little piece is off and it's just like, I just, I can feel it. It's just, you know. So I take all that into consideration, and it's funny. Like I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing with it, and you know. So I look at this information. I go, okay, maybe this piece and this piece could be helpful, maybe from the healthcare system, and then maybe this piece and this piece from the spiritual could be helpful, and then maybe this piece and this piece could be helpful from the community of people who have struggled with these symptoms before. So then you start looking at that and you go, oh, okay, so really, if I do this that the medical system kind of leaned into, and that test is true, which these people said it very well could be, then whether it's true or whether it's not, it's going to clear that out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the drawback? There really isn't one. Not much of one. Okay, cool. Then it would probably make sense to do that. And so we're just making sure of things from a medical standpoint, the Western medicine, that if there is this problem, we're probably going to wipe it out. And there doesn't seem to be much of a drawback to experimenting with that. Okay, cool. Now what else? Yeah. Well, this, now my son's got a few different things going on. It's like, okay, none of the medicine is going to help with that. And he's been struggling with it for 5 weeks. Okay, well, I want to try to do something with that. So that's when I brought in, talked to him about trying Cambo. So Cambo is frog medicine from the Amazon, and it's huge immune system booster, huge energy booster, which he has none. And I'm thinking one of the reasons why he has multiple problems, so his body's depleted. So when he has these waves of the mono, which we think it is, it's like his body can't fight it off. It's just too weak from the other couple things and the mono. So it's like if we can give him an energy boost and boost his immune system, get his body stronger, then maybe the next wave, his body can fight that off better, So this is it's all logical thinking, clear thinking. It's not woo woo, what the hell, And it's funny. It's like sometimes when you bring in the plant medicine argument, people like, well, my son was even asking me about it, I think yesterday or the day before. And he's like, seriously, like, what's up with the frog medicine? Like, and and I was like, well, I said, what's funny about that? I says, as soon as you asked me, I got this flash of all the other medicines. It's like, do you know what's in the acetaminophen and the ibuprofen that everybody's been taking on a daily basis?
I just had the same thing when you said that he said that. I was like,
yeah,
it's funny. Like, we're just prescribed stuff all the time, and nobody's asking what's in it. They just literally go fill it and they take it.
List. There's a laundry list of side effects that they tell you have definitely occurred when people take this medicine. They have definitely gotten dizzy. They have definitely had strokes. They have definitely died. They have definitely, like, This is
You know, I mean, at the
definitely
end of
has
each
happened.
one, you hear on infomercials, it's like possible death. Literally, they
Yeah.
say that at the end of almost every one.
Right.
Insane.
So and
Like,
they
all right,
they
cool.
say that because like I was listening to one last week and they literally said like after they listed all the symptoms, they said we are telling you about these possible side effects because they have occurred in people in the past.
Lovely.
Not because we think they might occur.
Right.
We have to tell you about them because they literally have occurred. Past tense. People literally have died from taking this medicine that we think you should take. And it's like, okay, so that's one side. And then the plant medicine, it's like, well, people, been taking this for 5,000 years.
Right. Right.
Like,
And it's natural.
yeah, and it's natural. Like we're putting, we're like, oh, it's man-made and synthetic, and it kills people. Oh well, I'll take that because the doctor prescribed it. But this is natural, like nature made it, and it's been around for 5,000 years. And people have been using it, and the health benefits have been, documented.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's kind of woo-woo. That's. I don't know about that. I don't know if I can trust that. It's like, wow, that's how whacked out we are with our thinking. It's amazing.
Yeah, but, it's I think that just this time and space, like people, I see it more like where I am. I mean, where you're at, you're entrenched in it, but like I'm in the city, in the US, and there's just there's a lot of more functional medicine and people using alternative, like natural remedies versus, getting prescriptions from the doctor. Like you'll always have that, of course, but I see there's like a major shift here for sure, especially where I'm at.
It's a beautiful thing. It's there's a gigantic shift with this stuff. I mean, the expansion of this stuff in the last 10 years is just mind blowing. I mean, even if you say the last 20 years, I mean, none of this was really, it was just starting. People were starting to mess. I mean, as far as mainstream, there was always a spiritual community that was into it and stuff. But I mean, it just started becoming mainstream, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. And it's like where it is now is like night and day to where it was back then. And then 20 years before that, like forget about it. It's not even in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like the failure of Western medicine, just like the countless times that it's just failed people, has actually pushed this next phase of people wanting plant medicine and all of the natural stuff because the old way didn't work. So you're forced to, if you're not getting treated for something, you're forced to go outside and find it if you want to get better. So,
and look, the solution is built into the problem. It's like, this is, this is the beauty of where we are in human history.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Whenever, this is why I try to point this stuff out whenever I see it. That's why I got all excited when you said it. It's like, it's yet another example of how, when we talk about on other podcasts about how greed is coming to a pinnacle, and then we're looking for a new way. So when we're looking at the job market becoming an employee market instead of an employer market, why? Like, what is driving all this change? It's failure.
Right.
That's what's driving it. And it's people focused on money and everybody, like, so if you sit there and you go, this is horrible, this is a good example of emotional thinking that doesn't work. This is horrible. Oh my God, the healthcare system doesn't help people. It's horrible, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the fact that it's not helping people is pushing people to find alternative views. So we're in a learning curve. That's where we're going, is the solution. Just like in the job market, just like with the money, just like in every other area that's falling apart, and people are finally opening their eyes. And what it is when your eyes start to open and you start seeing this stuff for what it's like, it's overwhelming and it's frustrating and it's angry. But you have to let go of that and go, okay, like stop cursing the darkness and praising the light. Like,
Yeah.
stop being upset that your eyes were closed before. Stop being upset that the governments and the businesses and the big pharmacy and all the other things that are dysfunctional in this world have done what they've done and are driving the driving force that they are. Don't worry about that. That was when your eyes were closed. That was when everybody didn't understand. But our eyes are opening now. We're seeing things for what they are. Now we can change. You know, and that's the same in the macrocosm as it is in the microcosm. You know, I do this with individuals too. It's like when people start seeing that, you know, the error in their ways, they start beating themselves up. And it's like, no. Think about it. If you've been lost for 40 years, what chance did you have of taking control of your life and getting better?
Right.
Zero. You had no chance because you didn't know what you didn't know when you didn't know it. So you had zero chance of fixing anything. Now, 40 years later, your eyes pop open, you understand, and you can take ownership of your life and start living differently. Like, why beat yourself up for 40 years of walking in the dark? Why not praise that the lights are on?
Right.
You can actually now start living the way you should be. Getting excited about that. Let that excitement, let that joy pull you. You know, pain pushes until pleasure pulls. So that pain pushed you into awakening. So now you're awake. It's time to stop focusing on the pain and start focusing on the joy of the future. You know, because now you're in control of creating the future that you want. Up until yesterday, you weren't. You had no chance.
Yeah. And there's no way to change that, you know. And like you said, there's no use in beating yourself up about it either, because you really don't know what you don't know. So you could have gone on forever like that.
Yeah. So unless you have a time machine, you know, you might as well just get on with the joy of it. You know?
Right.
You know. So, you know, so I think it's you know, to kind of maybe try summing it up, you know, it's about making sure your energy is clear.
Yeah.
You know, and just being calm and centered and realistic. You know, this is why my book is called Down to Earth. Like, I don't teach woo-woo floaty around stuff. Like, this is real crap.
I love that. Yeah. I love when people say woo woo, and it just cracks me up.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so you think that the only capabilities that we have is the healthcare system? That's woo-woo. Yeah. Because if you start looking at all the people that have been suffering with conditions that the healthcare for years, chronically, that the healthcare system can't fix, and they say they can, like, that's woo-woo, because it literally doesn't hold water. It doesn't work. You know, that's why it's woo-woo. But if you look at the healthcare system and you go, okay, like this piece does work. This piece does work. This piece seems to work. My best guess is that this does work. Now, the rest of it is a load of crap, and I'm tossing it all out. Well, that's realistic. That's discernment. You know, that's assessing and making logical conclusions, not blanket, you know, not sweeping everything aside because you don't like them, you know, and then looking over them. Oh, I like these people. Well, that doesn't mean you should take 100% of what they say. It just means you value their opinion a little bit more. Okay, cool. So still be discerning when you take in that, you know?
Yeah.
And then use your head, because we have one. You know, it doesn't take a rocket. Like, I think in the past, human history, all through human history, we put doctors, judges, principals, teacher, all kinds of different people in hierarchy. We make them like they know something we don't. They don't. They're no smarter than us. They're no better than us. Right. And half of the doctors went to, you know, finish school 20 years ago. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have to take some continuing education freaking stuff or something. But I mean, seriously, like the way technology is moving and medicines are moving, like somebody that graduated medical school like 30 years ago, they're going to know everything that's going on now. Where do they get their information? Oh yeah,
It's
from the pharmaceutical salesman that comes in and tells them that they have a new miracle drug.
yep, yep.
It's silly.
It never. I mean, I guess I'm not gonna. You know what? I'm not gonna. It's just I can
We
feel.
have
I
to
can. I
take
can just feel myself like ready to go in, and I'm like,
yeah.
just it's
We
out of
have to take
emotion. I know it's out of
right.
emotion.
Right, and we have to take that stuff into consideration, but it doesn't mean, that's why we have to bring ourselves back down to earth before we decide to make decisions. I say we can get emotional and bitch and complain and, post on social media and pretend it's going to do something and all that stuff. If we want to vent,
Yeah.
but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, like if, I think we have to take our decision making a little bit more seriously. And this isn't just about, medical stuff. I know we use that as an example today, but it's about every area of your life. Emotion is a gift. It's a wonderful tool that we have, but it's not there for making decisions. If we gather
Yeah.
information calmly, collect it all, use our heads, we're going to come out with really good decision making skills. But it's just we
Yeah.
have to make sure our energy is clear first,
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool.
So that's all I got. What about you?
Yeah. No, I think we about covered it. It's just leaning into the good overall. Leaning into the good.
Yeah, leaning into what feels good and just, that centered state that I'm not being swayed by emotion in either direction, and then making your decisions from there. And then sounding boards are great too. Talk it out with people. I've done that too. It's like, okay, when I come to my conclusion, it's like say it out loud, because weird stuff makes sense in our heads. Say it out loud, talk it over with people, try to get other perspectives. Does this make sense? Am I missing anything? You got to be careful who you do it to, because if you, if you do it to somebody that's attached to the medical system or that's completely against the medical system, they're not going to have their view is going to be tainted. So it's like you have to be careful who you go to. So
yeah, it's be wise in who you choose to bounce off that very important information that's just in your head.
Just be careful and just be like, are they emotionally invested in this? A lot of times family are not the one to talk things over with. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And a lot of times when it's around emotional things.
Like,
no.
Yeah, especially if it's someone very close. It can be someone very close to you that can be emotional and triggering, and just be careful.
Yeah, I think it's like what I do usually, like, I like to keep my family involved with stuff like this, because I know they care and I know they're curious. So usually what I try to do is I try to like kind of come to I kind of do this anyway. I like to come to my own conclusion, you know, and then maybe
no, not you.
and then I talk it out with my son, in this particular situation, because he's involved. He's an adult now. Like, I'm not just going to go, hey, you're going to do this. No, like he's agreed to, I ask him, I inform him and let him make his decisions, because it's his body. I don't tell him he's doing anything, So, so talking it out with him and explaining why I think the way that I think, and if he's on board, and then we kind of, okay, cool. Like we kind of come to a conclusion what we're going to do. Then I talk it over with people, and I still stay open to if they have a different opinion, and be like, okay. And if they do throw an opinion, I go, okay, is this something I need to bring into my little puzzle over here and incorporate in, or is it just fear-based? No, it's just fear-based. Right. Okay, cool. I'm just going to stay with my little model over here then.
So you're filtering you and everyone else, basically.
Right. So
Yeah.
so if they get caught up in fear a little bit, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. It's almost expected, but
Yeah.
it's not like, what the hell, man? You're bringing fear in. It's like, just relax. Just don't let it in. Like, I'm in control of my energy. I don't have to worry about if somebody spreads a little fear. It's like, okay, I can recognize it for what it is and go, no, I'm not allowing that in here.
Yeah.
I don't have to get
Yeah.
defensive and be like, oh my God.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yep. Make it all dramatic. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, just make sure your energy is clear. You're not letting, so, and a good way of doing that is, seeing the good. Even if something's 90% bad, look at the 10% good, and really allow yourself to feel it, absorb it. Like, yes, there is good here. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
There is good here. And let that really settle into your body. Yes, is most of it BS? Yes, but there is some good here. Okay, so if you can really feel that to be true inside your body, that will keep your energy clear.
Yeah.
And therefore your thinking clear.
I like it. I'm going to practice it.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to continue practicing it.
it.
All right, that'll do for this one. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys soon.
See you guys.
Looking for more? Check out over 200 episodes of Life Lessons and Laughter, or click the link in the description of this episode to connect with Glenn directly.